Hi everyone. Today we'll talk about new upcoming ESO DLC and we will come through the whole patch note of upcoming DLC with two brand new dungeons called Scions of Ithelia. And this new DLC, it's the first DLC in 2024 ESO year, and it will be a continuation of the story of the most best-selling DLC in ESO history since Somerset. It was Necrom DLC, and you will see the continuation of its story in the next chapter called Gold Road that will launch in summer. So it's the beginning of the story, and today we have special guests from our guild, and we've been playing a lot together, and we've been completing a lot of day one, even dungeons and trials together. So please tell a few words about yourself.
This one is known under many names, but this one's heart belongs to the sands of elsewhere. Anyway, when I'm not role-playing, I'm also completing dungeons trials, trying day ones, and playing as an Imperial soldier. But this will be the first time when I'm actively investigating patch notes, getting into how this game is made and updated. So, going with the flow.
And hit the like button if you're really sure that Skyrim only for nerds. No,
What did you just say about...
completely nothing. Nothing.
Okay.
I'm just looking through patch notes. Completely nothing. And now let's come to patch note and let's talk about everything that you will find in a new DLC that will launch March the 1st on March 11th on PTS. It's currently you can play this DLC on PTS, but on live you will see this DLC on PC and macOS. You will see this DLC on March 11th, and date launch of this DLC on PlayStation and Xbox is March 26th. So let's come through the patch note. In this new DLC, and another little thing we need to talk about, yes, we are coming through PTS patch note, but it's several days till the launch of the DLC, and at least for the last 3 and 4 years, the Zenimax Online Studios, they change nothing in a week before the DLC, so you can just look through the patch notes just in a week before the DLC, and it will be the same patch note, the same changes that will fall into the game when the new DLC launches. So yes, we're looking through PTS patch note, but it's okay because everything will be just the same. We're coming through PTS patch note and through all PTS fixes, and we will discuss everything and comment everything. So now, let's start. And we'll start from new features and different changes in this game in March in ESO. And the first thing we want to talk about is new dungeons, because in new DLC you will have two dungeons. It's basically DLC dungeon. And the first dungeon is called Thorn Pit. Can I ask, please, our Kajiti companion to read the description of this dungeon, please?
You mean with my Kajiti alter ego, right?
Yeah.
Okay, glad you asked, my friend. For centuries, the secluded retreat of Oathsorn Pit has been a proving ground for followers of Malaka, honing their martial skills in the shadow of the Daedric Prince. A band of wood elves, calling themselves the Recollection, have recently arrived with an ultimatum: join their army or die. Bending the knee to these usurpers would draw shame in the eyes of Malacath, and battle commenced. Now the lodges of the pit stand against the Recollection to free themselves from the shackle of servitude. But do the wood elves have another motive? So basically a fight between wood elves and the followers of Malacath. Okay, so this sounds interesting from a lore point of view.
Hit the like button if
I'm not
elsewhere
sure.
is only for Kajitis. Yeah, it sounds really, really fun. But what we know about this, what we know about these two dungeons, that this will be dungeons connected with Necrom's story, and in general, it will be something that connects Laura Mills Weiss. It's a character from Necrom's story with the whole Dunmer or Dark Elves thematic that will connect everything and lead us to new. It was a spoiler alert. I will not spoil you what happened in Necrom, because in Necrom happened. What happened is, and when you know this, it's literally, and you just sitting here and just saying, "Wow, it's insane! It's really insane! It's a wonderful story, wise thing that you want to continue, want to inspect even further, because it's really." And this is why it will be one of the greatest DLC if we're talking about story, because it's continuation of one of the best DLCs story-wise in ESO history. So yeah, it would be some sort of continuation of Dark Elves thematic, but also you can see like our Khajiit friends talking, it will be something connected also with Wood Elves, and it's really nice because if you remember, last time we saw Wood Elves was Aldmeri's Dominion storyline. We never had anything on Wood Elves in DLC. Only the last time Wood Elves came into storyline, it was like where in Blackwood, where one very famous Wood Elf came into the storyline, and Selena and Marcelog dungeon when also Wood Elves were involved. And last time, yeah, it was several hours.
City of Ash,
Yeah, it was several years
the
ago.
very long dungeon too, but yeah, that was so long ago.
Yeah, it was like in Elsewhere, and in Blackwood it was 2 or 3 years ago. So yeah, and about second dungeon Bedlam Vale, it's a return of Fanuit Hen, and who is Fanuit Hen? And if you are in gameplay in ESO, you should know him because it's that guy who is telling you what to do before you are starting every your Maelstrom Arena run. And this is the guy that's standing and saying, yes, you are damn piece of when you are failing in Maelstrom, and you will fail in Maelstrom if you're a new player and if you're a first-time player in this arena, because it's extremely difficult for new players. It's not difficult in general, but if you don't know what solo builds at all, you will just completely stuck in this arena because it's a new Daedric realm with Fanuit's Hen, Dreamora, who is trying to conquer other Daedric realms, and he's trying to conquer even Daedric princess realms. And this is why he's building his own army in Maelstrom Arena, and you are helping him to build this army, playing Maelstrom Arena. Yes, you are playing not so far Maelstrom meta guns. Who is caring about meta? You're only fighting for fun with him to build his own army. So yeah, it's a returning of Arsenium character that everyone loves because come on, everyone loves grinding in this game, right? So
Oh, that's so interesting. And
hmm? Yeah, it will be four players dungeons as always, and in these two dungeons you will find unique skin, and this unique skin it's Blood Marks of Malakat. You can find this skin in our previous video about free pets, about two free mounts in March, about free DLC in ESO in March, about free three costumes. And check our video to know how to get everything, because in March you will have plenty of stuff. And in addition, you also have 10 crown crates for free. You can get them even now. Just logging in every day, you will get all the nice stuff. And also you will get, yeah, and about the skin, Blood Marks of Malakat, my Khajiit friends, can you tell me what do you think about this? Because we never got anything from Malakat in terms of dungeons. It's the first skin connected with Daedra Lord called, Daedra Prince called Malakat. So what's your opinion on this?
I'm not sure it will be beautiful, at least not the gaily beautiful way I prefer skins to be. But it's quite interesting that you have to complete 2 veteran dungeons for the skin. So it's a show of skill, I believe.
Yeah,
People will wear it simply to signify that they managed it.
for sure, because everyone in ESO loves to flex, right? And yeah, so also we'll have two unique mementos, and honestly, I don't think that memento is one of the most popular thing in here. So another die, that's another shader. If you are a Destiny player, you know these things like shaders. It's a thing with which you can just paint, change colors on your things, and several titles. But before we come into titles, we want to talk a little bit about sets, and here we start to be really serious because it's the main question: should these new sets become meta? In current meta, where almost everyone playing one bar builds, say hello to our one bar Arcanist we play almost every day with Orc Soul Ring that's literally carrying you through every activity. And a lot of players here playing one bar builds, so let's see if this new set will shake the meta. So at first we want to talk about Bedlam Veil set, and first set is light armor, and you can see it's healing set because third bonus is healing done. We'll later we'll just say it's healing set or tanking set or the damage dealer set, and if we're saying it's healing set, it's because its third bonus is healing done. And if we're saying it's magical light set because we have no healing done bonus. So it's quite obvious if this set has some perks like healing done or other healing increasing perks, it means it's quite obvious it's healing set. So we will skip second, third, and fourth perks because the most important is fifth perk. That you get from 5 items, and this healing set increasing our strength of our damage shield by 13% to target 15 meters or closer to the healer, and it's also increasing healing done by 13% to target more than 15 meters away from you. And a few words about the set. It looks like a really powerful set, but how much players are using shields in-game? For example, if we're talking about Godslayer, are there a lot of players using shields, damage shields, if your healers are really great? If your healers are great, you're using just something like healing ability. And yes, if you are playing mana build, you will use shields, but it's not something essential because 13% shield increase, it's not something that will save you in critical situation. 30% healing done increase, yes, it's something really vital. It really will help you. But it's only working when your target's 15 meters away from you, and if healer standing 15 meters away from the party, it's not a great deal because sometimes you need to stack, for example, like in Sunspire, when you're trying to do Godslayer, you need to stack on plates, and in Cloud Rest on some bosses, on the third boss, if you are playing normal, not +3 but +0, you need to stack on one player. So it's not a great thing to use in current meta. It's powerful set, but it's not the most powerful set that will be meta defining. Next set is medium armor, also in this dungeon, Tarnished Nightmare. When you deal critical damage to an enemy, glass shards burst 8 meters around them, dealing physical damage to enemies in the burst and applying the Sundered status effect, dealing additional physical damage and applying Mineral Breach for 4 seconds. Mineral Breach is above that, as you remember, it reduces target's physical and spell resistance by 3000 amount. It's penetration. In simple words, it's just a penetration. And this effect procs every 8 seconds, and it's also scaling of your weapon and spell damage, higher weapon and spell damage. It sounds nice, but honestly, you have enough penetration in current meta in both PvP and PvE, because in PvP you just building around meta, especially if you're using two-handed weapons like maces. You have enough penetration from maces passives, and yes, it sounds nice in terms of mechanic. By the way, Zos is trying to introduce new mechanics every patch, and every patch you can see really fun, really nice sets you can play with a completely brand new mechanics. Say hello to Destiny, the changing nothing since Forsaken for something like 6 years. Just no new mechanics. And those is really every half a year they trying to change something and introduce new mechanics. And these shard mechanics remind us of Toad's boss from Infinite Archive, and it's something that will definitely looks like, and at least it sounds fun. But in current meta, you don't need additional penetration because tank is adding additional penetration to your party. Healers doing additional penetration with elemental charge, elemental drain, or something like Nightblade healers also can use Lotus Fan that also increasing damage penetration. So you don't need additional penetration. We will see how much damage will do this glass shard burst, but I think it's it's AoE damage. It's doing damage in a burst in 8 meters around enemies. So I think it will be more AoE damage. So AoE damage, I guess it won't be great. We have only one AoE damage set in this game, and it's that is really great. It's deadly. It's some sort of AoE. It's more channel ability, but it's also dealing AoE damage. But I don't think that Zosis will introduce a powerful AoE set that will be more powerful than direct damage set. Next set is Reflected Fury, and when you taunt an enemy, it's tank set. Quite obvious, right? You gain a stack of broken shards. Again, broken shards, something connected with Infinite Archive, right? That's increasing for 5 seconds, up to 5 stacks at maximum. You can only gain 1 stack every 1 second, and when broken shards ends, you release the stacks in an 8-meter blast. Again, AoE set, dealing physical damage to enemies hit and applying major mayhem to them for 3 seconds per stack of broken shards consumed, reducing their damage done by 10%. The damage scales of your max health. The funny thing that I see no use currently in current meta of this set, because now currently tanks are using Yelnacreen and Misery and Turning Tide, all the sets on even for powerful assault, all the set is increasing your group's damage, your group's DPS, and in or if you are playing, of course, if you are playing something like dungeons, no death dungeon runs, you are using something like Imperium or Full Killer's Words, something for survivability or damage or increase or damage increase for your group. It's nice set, but again, why do you need to use this to reduce damage done from the enemies if you, for example, use Lazy Thorn Monster Helmet and Monster Shoulder to gain something like the same from just 2 pieces? Why do you need to use the whole set with such bonuses? I see no use in PvE currently, but again, it sounds really fun, like a completely new fun set, but with no practical use in current endgame meta. But it can shine, for example, in PvP.
Yeah,
Hmm?
it was hard enough to farm Lady Thorn.
Yeah, it was extremely fun, yeah.
I need probably to farm another dungeon like this.
Especially day one, it was extremely difficult day one experience when no one knew mechanics, and it was really fun, yeah. And by the way,
Never again.
But by the way, look, using towns. No one is using towns in PvP. But maybe it's a PvP set. Maybe the Animax Online Studios want us to use this set in PvP. So you are making a tough health, great health build and using towns that regularly tanks using to tanks are taunting enemies. But if you're using towns in PvP like in Cyrodiil and with using towns, you doing damage and also you reducing your opponent's damage done to you. It sounds like something that can work in PvP. How do you think?
Who knows? Like, we'll have to test, I guess.
Yeah, because like no one is using taunt. It's a completely PvE mechanic that tanks are using to taunt enemies to get enemies' attention. And why not using taunt in PvP? It's something new, but it can work with this set. And yeah, we definitely need to check because PvP is something that needs to be checked. It's not something that can be guessed in general. And now Monster Mask. Monster Mask called the Blind from this dungeon. And you remember that Monster Mask you get only from the veteran difficulty of the dungeon. It's critically healing yourself or an ally. It's healing set, quite obvious. Grants themselves a Hydra Glass damage shield that absorbs up to 2,692 damage for 6 seconds, while the damage shield holds ends for 3 seconds and after it ends, the target gains minor force, increasing the critical damage done by 10%. If we're talking about its healing set, quite nice sets if you want to increase damage of your group, but you need to critically heal group. It's not a great problem, especially for Nightblade healers that currently are extremely powerful in in-game meta. Healers, say hello to our healers and to our Khajiit friend that is sitting here with us. That is also playing Khajiit healer, and
Either
she's yeah, and she's extremely potent and powerful. We've been playing through a lot with her healer, and yeah, your healer is she's extremely powerful. She's really mighty in current meta.
because you created the build. So like and subscribe to my friend who does great builds.
Thank you a lot. Yeah, and it sounds like quite decent sets for healers, but again, we don't have practical use for the set because again, we have enough of different tools to increase critical damage. And if you're talking about critical damage, it's not something that you definitely need to increase. If you're playing with Nightblades or Templars, they already have critical damage, so it's not something that will really be meta defining. But again, it sounds fun. Second dungeon, or Thorn Pit. What we can see, another light armor, but this time it will be the damage dealer set. On dealing damage, summon a cinder moss for 8 seconds that chases the target and searches for a new one with 8 meters if the initial is slain. And the first enemy that gets near the cinder moss causes it to stop and burst after 1 second, dealing flame damage and applying burning to enemies within 5 meters. That can occur once every 8 seconds and scales off your weapon and spell damage. And you know what? Just imagine fantasy. When you are playing, for example, like, alright, you're playing something like City of Ash 2. And you're playing there with a lot of fire and a lot of enemies coming to you, and you're just summoning some stuff like, for example, necromancers, blessed bones, and necromancers, bony archers. So you're playing with the army of undead, and every time you are proccing something like Selena, big ghosty green bear, and every time you're proccing this. So you're just literally spamming an army of Cindermoss, Ghosty Bear, several Necromancers, Undead friends, and you're just playing with a big army of different summoned allies that just doing all the damage for yourself. So it's a really wonderful and fun set, and it's working in a. It sounds like something one of the most interesting and some of the most insane if you're talking about mechanic in the game, because come on, you just summon in Cinder Moss and they chasing enemies. You don't need to do anything. It's an aim assist wall hack mechanic that will just simply chase your enemies for yourself. Isn't it sounds crazy?
Yeah, that's kind of autofocus.
Just Cinder Mosses, your allies, just following enemies. So yeah, it's definitely be useful for several mana damage dealers, two bars builds, something like, for example, mana Magica dragonknight that is playing with fire, not playing with fire, but playing in fire. So it definitely will be one of the great sets for this for this class, for this build. But I don't see any use for other classes, because currently in current meta of World of Depth and Nirn and even new Monocolytes, it's not something that will shine on other classes than Dragon Knights. Now medium armor. It's healing yourself or an ally makes you target blood hungry for 3 seconds. It's medium armor. Medium armor that also require healing yourself or healing an ally. Dealing direct damage to an enemy makes them blooded for 3 seconds, and blooded enemies take 4 more damage from and deal 4 less damage to blood 100 targets. It sounds fun, sounds really nice sets. Again, it's an interesting mechanic to proc, but where I can see this in solo builds with something like Briarheart from Arsenium DLC, it will be great for solo players if you are playing arenas or Infinite Archive for solo, but not something that you definitely need in trials, especially on veteran, because everyone in trials you have, if you are playing not a PUG group, you are playing with pre-made group, you're playing with great healers that know, that understand mechanics. You will not struggle from damage income, so you definitely don't need this for regular 12 people activities, dungeon trials, and for dungeons with optimized group. Now another set, heavy armor, healing taken, medium health, maximum health. After taking direct damage 3 times within 5 seconds, you create a 5-meter area for 10 seconds. You and group members who touch the area gain grounding for 15 seconds, reducing cost of roll dodging by 20%, increasing block mitigation by 12%. This effect can occur once every 10 seconds. Again, it sounds like some new mechanic, but why do you need in PvE decrease the cost of dodging and roll dodging and increasing block mitigation. Maybe for if it's increased, if it would increase block mitigation for something like 30%, yet it can shine on tank. But in current meta in PvE, I don't think it's something that will really work because you have a lot of resistance just for yourself, just playing regular builds and using all the traits and all the things necessary. Maybe in PvP, but it's only for direct damage, and you need to be attacked by direct damage 3 times within 5 seconds. And a lot of players playing channel abilities or other stuff or like dots in PvP, so I see no use currently for this build, but if Zosis will increase block mitigation by 30%, it can work. It can work for tank in some really tanky situations when you need to be more tanky, like for example, again, Godslayer I've been talking about. And now the last thing we will talk about, if in terms of sets, it's another monster mask from this set, from this dungeon. We're talking about Oathorn Pit dungeon. Little reminder, it's Anzel Mir's construct. It's attacking an enemy with a fully charged heavy attack, throws an axe at your enemy and dealing physical damage and reducing their armor for 5 seconds. And this effect can occur once every 10 seconds, and the damage and armor reduction scales of the higher of your weapon and spell damage. The X drops to the ground after traveling to your target for 5 seconds, and touching the X reduces the cooldown of the set by 5 seconds. Again, really nice set with a new mechanic. You just throwing X's all over, and you just picking them up and throwing them to enemies, and again picking and throwing, picking and throwing. It sounds like fun gameplay loop, but again, we need to see numbers because we don't see direct numbers how much physical damage this set will do. It scales of the higher weapon and spell damage, but in terms of mechanic it sounds fun, but fully charged heavy attack, again we need to see its tracking ability. If it's tracking enemy for something like 28 meters and it's dealing something like 4k damage, it would be nice, especially in PvP. But in PvE, I don't think it will work. Maybe we can use this on 1-bar builds because we're using on heavy builds, heavy attack builds. But I don't think it will be potent because if this set has really strong tracking potency, it won't be powerful, and vice versa, if it will be potent, if it will be strong enough to, for example, take something like 5k health, it won't have high tracking potency. So yeah, it's again really fun set to play with, but I don't think it will be meta or something like meta defining. Now, a little bit less serious aspects, it's more fun aspects, so
Yeah, less numbers.
yeah, I promise next patch note will be less less serious and more enjoyable for you to hear. Now about titles, new titles that you can get from this new DLC. And can my friends comment these new titles?
Yeah, so the first two are pretty much obvious. They're given for the 2 dungeons. The first one is Oathorn and the second is Bedlam Disciple. Sounds like something to show off because, for example, you get the Bedlam's Disciple for completing the Unshakable Fervor achievements. I don't know what that would be, but it sounds impressive. Then you have the title Pitmaster, obtained by completing the Scorched but Surviving achievement, even more frightening. And another title, The Self-Governing, Working from Home, okay, whatever, by completing the Live and Clever achievement. So, yeah, sounds impressive. Then we get The Vengeful by completing the Oathorn Pit Champion achievement.
I guess it's
so you have the chance to be a champion, yeah, maybe for veteran. And then the title The Intervener, also for Bedlam Championship, probably also a veteran. And the fun one, Cake Connoisseur, or how do you read French? So I don't know what it will have to do with cakes, but you get some Cake Devourer achievement. Okay, that sounds interesting. It sounds like some kind of event achievement. What do you think?
But the fun thing is that they all are just dungeon achievements and dungeon titles.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
at least previous years, all the previous years, it was just dungeon achievements in these patch notes and dungeon titles. And yeah, my friend told you
Will there
already.
be a hidden boss?
Maybe it's
Like,
a secret boss or secret achievement.
yeah, it
Because
sounds like some secret boss thing.
yeah, because all the past dungeons in the past 2 or 3 years, we've got all the dungeons in one mechanic, dungeon with 3 bosses and several secret mechanics. Starting with, if you remember, Unhallowed Grave. It's an unholy dungeon where you're using your grapple hook like Spider-Man and just climbing to cliffs with this grapple hook.
Yeah, the cool one. So looking forward, especially to the cake title.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
never miss a cake.
And I guess all the DC fans will chase for the Vengeful because, do you remember, guys? I am the vengeance. I am the. You know Batman, right? You all watch Batman, you all love Batman, so quite obvious. So all the DC fans will just chase for the Vengeful. Because you remember, like, last Batman who was played by Robert Pattinson, who is saying in trailer, I am a vengeance. How it was perfect. It was just a perfect in the most atmospheric moment in this movie. So yeah, definitely do not miss on this title. And now other
Thank you for the
stuff.
short film review. Yeah.
Yeah. So also really nice, we will do these dungeons on our channel, so don't miss the blind runs. So we didn't try these dungeons this time on PTS, so we'll make a blind runs without voice, just a dungeon with all the story, with all the secret achievements on that run. So definitely subscribe to this channel and do not miss these dungeons. We'll do them, and
Yeah, you see all the times we will die.
maybe we'll do no
Or
this
maybe not.
yeah, maybe we'll do no this run this time. Who knows, first time. And by the way, last dungeon we've been playing, it was previous DLC on also on the skin. How it was a dungeon called? It was
The cauldron? Or the
no,
other
no,
one?
no, not the cauldron. Previous one we've been playing half a year ago. It was how it was called a year ago. It was dungeon with time travel. You remember what I'm talking about? Dungeon with time travel
Yeah,
with
I remember.
yeah, and you all remember, guys, it was the first dungeon of Necron DLC of the previous year. It was Screwinner's Hall, the second dungeon, and this dungeon was with time travel. And uh, no, it wasn't Screwinner's Hall. It was maybe. It doesn't matter. You understand what I'm talking about. Dungeon
Let's
with.
post in the comments later. Yeah.
Yeah, please remind us because we are playing. I've been just playing this dungeon something like a week ago, and I just can't remember right now the title of this dungeon. So you understand what I'm talking about. And when we've been playing this, we've done. It's not a difficult dungeon at all. We've just done know this run from the first time from the blind run. So I think it could be a possibility that Zenimax Online Studios this time also do one simple dungeon and one easy dungeon. A second dungeon will be much more difficult, like it was with Cauldron and Black Drake Wheeler, when Black Drake Wheeler was just an easy dungeon and Cauldron was just. Can you say something about Cauldron, please? How it was?
There was a lot of fire and death
Yeah,
and suffering. But it
and
was interesting in the end, especially the last boss mechanics.
yeah, it was a lot of death from fire. It was a lot of fire on death. It was just firing everything, and we've been firing all the second year. You know, let's talk about other stuff. I can say it's less important stuff, but it's more casual stuff because yeah, you will see what we're talking about, casual and some spiritual stuff. Little changes that we will see in the next budgets will just launch several days after this video. So repair kits. New repair kits will be introduced. It's a grant repair kits, and they will keep wall masonry, repair keep door woodwork, etc., etc., etc. And it's one repair kit that will simply repair everything. And I'm definitely really up to these changes, because when you're playing Cyrodiil, it's a little pain when you just need to carry all the repair kits for gates, for the walls, for different types of wall, for different walls, for different types of other stuff, for different types of gates. You just need to keep a lot of different door woodwork, masonry repair kits. You need to carry with yourself side repair kits. You need to carry a lot of repair kits. And this time you can buy just one repair kit for everything. One repair kit for doors, one repair kit for walls, one repair kit for side weapon, and one repair kit for mile gates. And it's wonderful that you don't need different repair kits. It's a really wonderful thing, um, really wonderful change to Cyrodiil. It will be much easier to play Cyrodiil now. Also, we have stackable Siege Weaponry. It's also a wonderful thing, because currently if you are buying Siege weapons, you're just buying them and they just taking a lot of space in your inventory, just a great amount of space. For example, if you are buying 20 ballistas, they just take in 20 slots of your inventory, and it sounds really crazy because 20 different slots. So it's much easier. It will be much easier in next patch with stackable Siege Weaponry. And also new sets that will be added um, into PvP rewards of the worthy. And these rewards, these sets are. Can you please comment the sets if it's not difficult for you, my friends?
Yeah, so basically, again, light armor, medium armor, and heavy armor. So the light armor is the main perk. I would say it's the fifth one. It just gives offensive penetration against enemies for each major buff they have active. And so if it writes that you have to gain 20 weapon and spell damage against enemies for each minor buff they have active. So I'm not really sure how this will translate to numbers or the game, because I'm like a PvP player, but not a PvP expert. So this is something we have to test, I guess.
Yeah, and
Maybe we should deploy a video on the battleground
yeah,
with that.
we could, yeah. And I guess we even will. But again, offensive penetration, you already have enough penetration from just your passive stars in champion tree, in champion points, and you already have enough penetration in general in PvP from your main sets, all you are already using, and from your other stuff, like for example your maces weapons. So I don't think it will be something that's really work. And again, only when your major buffs are active. Yes, you can proc some major buffs, but again, for some builds, it will just break the rotation. So we definitely need to see weapon damage and spell damage buff, but I don't think that 450 offensive penetration will just be meta defining.
Oh, yeah, maybe. And then the medium armor, which is more familiar to me, because I'm mostly playing with medium armor, either healer or damage dealer. It adds like 1,400 armor, then 1,000 stamina approximately, 120 weapon and spell damage, again approximately. And when you take direct damage, minor enervation is applied to your enemy for 4 seconds, reducing their critical damage done by 10%. And this can occur once every 5 seconds. I'm not sure if this will really help on the battleground. Like, it's great to decrease someone's critical damage, but since it's critical damage and it's already happened, it's still not really good for you. And it increases your damage done to enemies with minor innovation by 6%. So basically, again, the increase is not that, game defining. I can't say that I really want to switch to that set from my current build. Like, I don't really see the necessity.
Yeah, for sure, because it's only for
Yeah.
seconds, and it can only work against Nightblades. But come on, Nightblades are dealing so big bunch of damage, so this 10% will not save you, and you need to hit Nightblade with direct damage. And come on, show me the Nightbite that is playing without invisibility. And how will you hit the enemy that is just sitting in the shadows that you simply can't see? So against maybe Templars, but again, Templars, for example, I'm playing Magicka Templar in PvP, and I'm playing quite tanky builds. You can just use the sets against me, and it won't change the situation because I'm just doing a lot of damage to you all over the time. Again and again, I'm just using my rotation and doing lots of damage. So 10 decrease of my damage output, it's not something, again, meta defining. But again, it sounds fun. It's again something that really sounds fun. And now the last set, Heavy Armor, Bandar's Blessing. I can't stop to ask you to read the set because, come on, Bandar's Blessing. Who, if not the Khajiit, will read the set?
Yeah, it sounds interesting, but I almost never played a tank. So it said that it reduces the duration of breakable crowd control of mobilizers and snares on you by 75%, which sounds as something great. It also reduces the duration of your breakable crowd control and mobilizers and snares by 38%. And I believe that either there's a mistake in the patch note or those are some different things. But yeah, it sounds like the same sentence duplicated with different percentages, at least in this patch note text. So I don't know, what do you think about it? So is it 75 or 38?
I think they're missing, you see, they reduces the duration of
Yeah, they're missing some characteristic.
But look, reduces the duration on you by 75%. It means,
oh my god.
yeah,
Okay, I just didn't see it. Yeah, then it makes sense, of course, yeah.
But reduces duration of your breakable crowd control. Maybe it will. Again, I don't see the use of it because it's the only situation where it will work. Maybe again when bombers are trying to chase you in Imperial City, but again, reduces the duration. Why do you need this reducing of duration if you can just break free with one button? And yes, it can work with something that's snaring you, that's slowing your character, but again, dodge roll. Yes, you will spend some stamina, but if you don't have enough stamina in PvP, dueling and fighting other enemies, it means, sorry guys, but it means that your builds are not fine and you need to do something with your sustain. So it maybe can work, but it's a heavy armor. It's definitely not something for. At least I can't see this in Godslayer in PvE. Yes, I'm trying to compare everything with Godslayer experience because it's one of the most difficult trifecta trial experience, and it's not for PvE definitely, and it's definitely I can't see this in PvP both. So it's again sounds fun, but reducing your breakable crowd control duration of your breakable crowd control. It means that you can break free from it. So why don't instead it reduces its duration if you can just use one button and just break free? So again, I see no use for it. And now we will have several new antiquities and new mythic, if you want to call it this way. New mythic will be necklace, and this time it will be Torque of the Last Eyelid King. And we will comment this necklace after we read the description, because Zenimax Online Studios, they make several adjustments to the set, previous hotfix, PTS hotfix, and we will comment it. So this sets disable all other item set bonuses and increasing your damage done by 20%, reducing your damage taken by 20%, and increases your healing done by 20%. So, what does it mean? You can just simply use this necklace, you can just play naked, and you will still do damage. And you will still do some damage, and you will still have some health and damage reduction. What do you think about this set? You can literally play just completely with nothing, with no clothes at all, with just one necklace, and you will have some damage from just the set.
But come on, if you're playing completely naked, then your initial damage will be not that great. So, but it can increase any good damage by 20%, making it really powerful.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. You still need to use something, at least something, because you still have passives from your weapons, traits, glyphs. But in general, you can play like Baldur's Gate 3 builds when some players just playing naked with just nothing and just trying to with their hands trying to kill all the enemies. And then Max Online Studios
But wait,
changed.
I guess we missed a spoiler. So they say that this item set actually disables any other item set bonuses you have equipped, including other one-piece bonuses. So you only get this bonus, but no others.
Yeah.
Which is also fine, I guess.
It can maybe in the open worlds when you are playing, for example, world bosses with a group of, for example, 3 1-bar meta arcanists you can play because they will do pretty everything for yourself and you don't need anything. But yeah, and recently those has changed the set a little bit. It was Torque of the Last Eyelid King. Yes, they changed this a little bit. The set now grants 1,337 weapon and spell damage, 500 health, magic and stamina recovery, and reduces your damage taken by 15% rather than increasing everything by 20%. Reducing your damage taken by 20%. And it sounds like, in my opinion, it sounds like some sorts of a nerf in terms of health, magic and stamina. Because yes, it's recovery, but still, if you are playing endgame with the sets, come on, we're not taking this serious because it's not an endgame set. It's something sounds like fun, especially with 1.3 weapon damage, 1.3k weapon spell damage. It can work maybe even on mortal bosses, but it's not something that you will use anywhere except of plain story. And now we're skipping a lot of parts from our patch note because yes, you will have another pet. Yeah, we will comment this because you will have another pet, and this pet will be. Can my friends read this? Who it will be? Because I know you really like these pets. It will be.
Mirror mud crab. Oh my god, I love
Yeah,
mud crabs.
another
I
mud
guess
crab.
it will have a special skin or something.
And just
And
one.
by the way,
Mhm.
the next point in the patch note is the undaunted key reward increase, which is also interesting. So the keys offered by Ogalag will be increased by 1. So for normal, you'll get 2 instead of 1. For veteran, you'll get 3 instead of 1. And for veteran hard mode, you'll get 4 instead of 2.
Yeah.
So this is an impactful increase, especially as it was the same for the last 10 years. But now, yeah, Ogalag will get those key increases while the other 2 Undaunteds will stay the same, giving only 1 key for their normal dungeons and so on.
Yeah. It's a great change because you definitely need a lot of keys, especially if you're a new player and you want to grind some monster sets. It's definitely really nice change. Several homes, several furnishing. We're not commenting furnishing because it's not something you can comment. It's something you need to look at. But several achievements furnishing can be obtained from both two new dungeons. And the funny thing is that these two new achievements, you remember that when you every time you complete new dungeon, you can buy from the Undaunted Enclave, you can buy new furnishing for every dungeon for just completing the dungeon on normal difficulty. So don't miss this new furnishing. They are not expensive at all, but they are really nice. They're really nice, so don't miss of them after complete dungeons. Just visit Undaunted Hall and grab your items because it's additional really nice furnishing. Every time they're really nice, really huge, so do not sleep on this. Also, new container icons, something that will definitely like because if you are playing like us for a lot of years, you just see the same icons. I can't say that in ESO they are bad. No, I really like them, but it's really nice. It's a really nice quality of life change that ZeniMax Online decided to redraw containers icons. All the chests you are getting from rewards. And a new prologue quest that will launch a little bit late and not with the dungeons. It launched something like in a month after the launch of the DLC with dungeons. It will be the first act of new DLC called Gold Road. It's quest that will that will connect Necrom, New Dungeons, and Gold Roll chapter, and some UI front rendering, and another really important stuff. If you are watching this video and still there is no new DLC on the servers, please come into your game and make screenshots of all your video settings. Because the Zenimax Online Studios, they're changing PC recommended system requirements and minimum system requirements. And some of your settings, video settings, they can just be resetted on the launch. So make sure you make screenshots or make a photo of your video preset, so you can just take everything, make everything back after the update. So just do this right now if you are watching this before the launch of the DLC on PC and macOS. And yes, we've been talking about graphical settings. In other parts about graphical settings, we're skipping this everything. Templates on PTS, we're not talking about PTS. Now, one of the last and the most important parts about this DLC, it's changing of combat, its gameplay and combat changes, its changes of status effects. So what the Nemax Online Studios are doing, we're skipping the first part, we're coming to our numbers. Yes, they made several adjustments to status effects to ensure they are closer in power to one another, rather than clearly favoring damage over time status effects like Burning, Poisoned, and Hammerhagen. While these effects will still remain strong in terms of total damage reduction, they've been significantly increase the damage that other status effects deal on other applications, while also adding more flavor to differentiate each other. So, in few words, what does this mean? It may looks like those are nerfing something, because they nerfed several traits like charge in this patch note. We'll talk about this a few seconds later. But you can see that in general they increasing all status effects. Burning effect a little bit nerfed. It reduces damage of the status effect by 6%. But come on, burning effect is extremely powerful even in current meta. For example, like Magicka Dragonknight damage dealers, you are playing only on burning effects, and you are proccing burning effects all over the time on all enemies, especially with a new set like Cindermoss. If Cindermoss set will be really powerful, it can just make some crazy amounts of damage, and with some stuff like fiery glyphs with charge trait or even fuse trait, you can do some really pretty nice amounts of damage. So this nerf in 6%, come on, it's almost nothing. You won't even see this. 6% is nothing if we're talking about nerfing of the status effect, because you can just simply change charged trait to infused traits, and you will get even more amounts than it was previously. Also, they're buffing chill effect by 106%. Now, someone except of tanks will play with chill effect. Confused effect, also the increase in damage of the status effect by 106%, and it deals additional 15% damage to targets that have recently been confused. And confusion is something that you are doing with your, for example, wall of elements. It's electric debuff that's just making enemies the just of balancing enemies. And also diseased damage that a lot of players we've been using in PvP several patches ago before it was nerfed. It's increased the damage of the status effect by 88%. 88%. So now you will see a lot of players playing with diseased glyphs again. So again, really nice buff. And they reduced Hammerhagen damage of status effect by 58% per tick, and it stacks up to 3 times, increasing its damage by 100%, and this will result in general in 25% damage increase. So in general, see that in general the Nemax Online Studios, they're not nerfing something. In last 2 years they almost nerfed nothing. If they're nerfing something, this patch note just in the next paragraph, they're compensating this with a really strong buff. So it may look like a nerf, reducing damage of the status effect by 58% per stack per tick, but in general they're increasing damage by general damage, and it stacks up to 3 times. So in general you will see a buff after all, but not a nerf. And yes, this status effect no longer applies Mirror Mangle, but you definitely you don't need Mirror Mangle because it's increasing in damage by 25%. So in general, it's a general buff to the status effect. It's not a nerf, not in any means. Also, the increase in overcharged status effect damage by 106%. And it also instantly recovers 65 magicka to its activator. So again, it's a really nice buff to sustain for magicka builds if you are playing with overcharge effects and also increasing damage of overcharge effect. So again, really nice buff. The poison debuff is a little bit nerfed. They reduce the damage of the status effect by 30% per tick, but again, it's not something crucial because poison damage can be really increased with such sets like Swamp Rider. If you are playing Stamina dragonknights, also you're playing through poison, and you also can use poisons on your glyphs. Or you can use just poison like poison in a glyph slot, yeah, poison like an item. So it's definitely not something that will really affect your gameplay because it's not a general 30% nerf. It's a 30% nerf per every tick. So it's a really small amount of nerf. It's not something that will really affect your gameplay. And also reduce the duration to 4 seconds down from 6, and the damage now is considered execute damage and deals up to 4% bonus damage to targets under 100% health, and as such the damage now updates dynamically per tick. So what does it mean? They nerfed every tick by 30%, every tick, not general damage of poison effect, but it's now working like bloodthirsty trait. So the less health enemy has, the more damage this status effect is doing. So now, yes, Dragon Knights, now you have your own executive ability, but not inability, but with the status effect. So it's a great increase, it's a great buff, especially in trials when you have tough enemies with a great health. It will definitely shine. So everyone try poison builds now, and also it will be really great with PvP if you are playing, for example, like you playing, Micah GT friend, like you are playing poison builds in PvP. Now you will deal even more damage. The less health your enemy have, the more damage you will do due to this buff, general buff to poison effect.
Sounds great.
Yep. So it's not in any way it's nerf, because if anyone is telling you, other content creators telling you, this is nerfed something this patch, no, they will nerf. No, they're not nerfing anything. Just look at the patch note closely and you will see that in this paragraph, yes, they're nerfing something, they reduce the damage of the status effect. But the next damn paragraph, they are adding additional things to increase the damage and to compensate this nerf. So they are balancing, but not nerfing. If they're nerfing, they are still even nerfing. They are not killing anything. They're just adjusting and helping some items to be more healthy. Like for example, we'll talk about Arcanist several seconds later. And some Arcanist builds are really crazy and doing some great amounts of damage, extremely great amounts of damage. And yeah, there will be one nerf in this patch, but status effects, they are not nerfed. They are balanced and even buffed. So do not say that something was nerfed. And standard status effect increases damage of status effect by 106%, and this effect now also grants you weapon damage and spell damage for 4 seconds. Also, they update some buffs, like Major and Minor Vitality to increase healing received and damage shield strength by 6 and 12% from 8 and 6%. Again, not a big change, you won't see this because you have a lot of different stuff to increase your healing received and damage field strength, especially if you are, for example, playing Arcanist with your shields. You can just tank, or even on damage dealer, a great amount of damage. And Major Amount Defile updated the debuff to decrease health received and damage shield strength by 6 and 12% rather than decrease healing received and health recovery by 6 and 18%. Again, little adjustments, also not something critical. Just it was health received and damage shield. Now it will be health received and health recovery. It's even much more useful because health recovery is something that passively recovering your health, especially on solo builds. It will be much greater. Your health will be just regenerated much faster. And now about our classes, about Arcanists. I guess everyone is tired of Arcanists running with this damn laser and doing just melting everything with their laser on supernal builds, especially yes, Stamina Arcanist, I'm saying hello to you. And say hello to those because they finally nerfed this build, because this build was extremely crazy. It's dealing insane amounts of damage with just single laser. And now it will be nerfed. And it will be even, yes, it's nerfed, but it's more like balancing, because this build can do, for example, in 21 million target dummy, it can do something like 150k DPS and even okay 130k DPS if you are not great into Weaving, but still it's extremely great amount of DPS, and I glad they nerfed this, because players just play were just moving to Arcanist on this build and not playing other builds. And why in this game with such diversity of builds, such a big potential of builds crafting, why you just will play an Arcanist? Yes, they're potent, but there are other builds, like for example Stamina Decay with Relic Queen and Mir, that's also doing great amount of damage and no one is talking about somehow. So yeah, they will be adjusting this skill, Pragmatic Fate Cover and Fate Cover skill, and it's more Pragmatic Fate Cover morph. Reduce potency of the damage shield, its morph offers by 16%, and wait a second please, wait a second. Yeah, receives the damage done by this ability and its morph by 7% per tick. It's definitely nice adjustment that will it will just help the impact the game. And what I'm looking for yeah, they also reduces the passive, the physic lesson passive increase to applying status effect to 55% down from 75% to make it status effect buffs in this update, because you remember that they are buffing the status effects, and this time status effects will be much more balanced, because they are buffing status effects, and if they not reduce this increase to status effect, they will just make another monster that will just do lots of stuff, a lot of damage, and again not break the game, but will make players to play with certain build but not the others. Also, other fixes, they increase the radius of the rune of displacement more to 10 meters up from 8 meters. And again, another fixes about dragonknights. Dragonknights, they increase damage done with burning and poison effect by 20 and 40%, because you remember they nerfed a little bit burning effect. So to adjust this, they will increase in damage of dragonknight. So a dragonknight will be even more potent this build, this DLC. Also, this passive grants 1000 magic and stamina whenever you apply burning or poison effects. And when you're playing dragonknight, you're playing burning and poison effects all the time. And also it's not only giving us magicka for burning and stamina for poison, but now you can play with either burning or poison effect, and you will increase your magic and stamina whenever you play either of these status effects. And our KDT friend is not sleepy yet with his numbers.
Slightly, because I'm usually looking at the numbers when I'm fighting, but not in the text form. But I see there's so much more there are so many interesting features left, like, Necromancers, Templars,
Yeah.
all the other updates.
And
Do we want to do part 2?
but we have just several notes. Maybe we will just comment this time, because we just need to comment, by the way, necromancers, I guess, and it's almost the end, because we don't want to talk about fixes. Maybe we will just continue this time. We still have
What do you think is the most important?
the most important is Necromancer, because the most important change in this patch note is renaming the ability of Stalking Blastbone to Sacrificial Blastbone, because it's literally you are sending your undead to new death, if it sounds crazy, but still, yes, you are sending your your Blastbones, and They rename this skill to sacrificial bones to be more to mention its main effects. And it's also this morph, Stalking Blast Bones. They renamed this morph to Grave Lord Sacrifice, and this morph extends the duration of the bonus up to 20 seconds, increases the damage done effect to 20%. It's really nice buff to necromancers and allows you next corp consuming ability to threat you as a corpse while the effect is active. So again, it's a buff to necromancers, really nice buff. Also, the increase in some passives by several percent, again, not something that will be meta defining, but again, quite nice buff to necromancers. Also, animate blast bones. This morph is from life and death skill tree. This morph now applies only spawns blighted blast bones rather than spawning the version of the ability you morphed, as there is little benefit from having multiple skeletons activate from sacrificial bones or grave lord's sacrifice. Now you can see Night Blades, again, increase damage in cap strike, incapacitating strike, increasing damage done of this ultimate, of the enhanced version of this ultimate by 10% and extended the duration of this effect by 12 seconds up from 8, but this ultimate no longer grants Reef for Slatin, but still it's again buff for this set. For this skill, because even you using this skill, you know how this skill is potent, how this ultimate is potent when you can just simply use 3-button rotation in PvP from invisibility and simply just kill the enemy in just a few seconds. All of you who is just playing Cyrodiil or Imperial City, you know how Nightblade sometimes can just one-shot you or two-shot you from just 2 or 3 seconds. So again, buff to Nightblades, cry for Nightblades, play for Nightblades, and love Nightblades.
Night plays one love.
Yeah. Wield Strike, also Nightblades, again, morphs that dealing 10% increased damage at all times and deals additional 10% damage for 15 seconds after leaving stealth on visibility rather than granting Major Berserk. Again, really nice buff to Nightblades. Nightblades will be even more, even stronger. Minor Expedition and conditional requirements now persist through bar swap. So again, it's a great buff to Nightblades. Now you can stay at any bar, and this skill will still give you really nice buffs to your build. Also, some other buffs, not really morph, like debilitate morph of cripple that increases chance of applying an overcharge status effect to 15%, and siphoning strike also instantly drains 4k health and restore 2k magic and stamina. Also really nice change of the skill. Also very useful for Nightblades in both PvP and PvE. Some sorcerer changes, like for example, again, renaming one of the most important changes in this patch note for Restraining Prison, that is renamed to Vibrant Shroud. And not something crazy, but it also heal allies in the area with the same healing potency of Blazing of Protection rather than attempting to immobilize enemies. Maybe some healers can use this. Other stuff, for example, like Shattering Prison Morph, also renamed to Shattering Spines, that increases the damage done of this morph by 10% to make up for a little delay they're introducing. So again, some little adjustments just to make some less used skills more potent, but again, not something meta defining in these changes, like for example dark summoning on sorcerers that also now heal you up for 15% of max health or magicka if no pets were shielded by the abilities. Again, this is trying you to move from playing with pets on sorcerer to playing sorcerer without pets. So it may work on some builds, but again, not something that will definitely change meta for now. And you can see all the other stuff, all the passives they're changing for several percent. Again, not something crazy, like for example, Expert Summer changing passive increases max health by 5 and 10% while you have a summon pet of any kind up to 4 and 8 when you have a Daedric summoning ability active. Again, it's quality of life improvement that will make make overall everyday gameplay much easier. Radial size of storm column also increased. On Warden, some also adjustments, like for example, Northern. The most important with Warden is that Steel Storm Northern Storm Morph will be increasing damage by its morph by 50%, and activating the ultimate now grants additional 50 weapon damage and spell damage for 5 seconds up to maximum of 9 times. And what else? We're almost done with our patch notes, but the last few things we want to talk about is guilds. About Inner Fire, so reduce the cost of its ability and Inner Rage morph from 2700 to 1620, and also reduces damage of its ability and Inner Rage morph by 10%, because you remember that they adjusted damage type of flame damage, and it's needed to be they adjusted the damage type to flame damage rather than magical damage to working it's better with different stuff for you to stacking it with different, for example, flame glyphs, and in general in several builds this can be even more potent, especially if you are making builds with, if you are using Inner Fire with, for example, fire builds, it can now even work a little bit better. So again, it's not a nerf because you can easily compensate it with other changes from this patch note. And also they increased Inner Beast morph. It's also from the Undaunted skill line. It increases the damage of its morph by 80%, making it equal to other ranged spammable attacks, and its morph now applies mirror vulnerability and mirror maim to targets rather than unique damage taken from the caster debuff. Also, great buff, great changes to this skill. The only thing they're changing with sets, because you can see all the fixes, the only thing they're changing with sets, they're changing Tormentor set. This set now only taunts the first enemy hit by the ability that activates the set, rather than taunting any and all enemies hit by the ability. And this set now can triggers of blinks, such as streak. This means all the blinks, all the gap closer skills on sorcerers, on nightblades, on other classes that you are all tied off. And also the set now it heals for 45% of all damage done from the ability and activate the set. And also, if we're talking about Unleashed Terror, they reduce the damage of the set by 7% to make up buffs, the buffs for Hammer against status effects. So again, they are balancing sets to not be crazy, like for example, this Arcanist 2-bar stamina builds with Fate Carver and laser skill to be more potent, same time be more balanced with the changes to status effects. So again, it's not a nerf because it will be completely overbalanced, overwhelmed with the buffing different effects. So again, it will be working even more in a more balanced way. In general, you will see an increase in your damage, especially with Tormentor set. Tormentor set, I guess, it's not a much powerful set that a lot of people using currently, but still, now it will be more vital. Again, it's not enough increase to be meta defining, but it's something that will be that will be a little more attractive if you are making some outsider builds for some low end activities and even medium end activities. And now about charge effect, there are just several words. I guess we miss something with, yes, item traits. Yes, we miss only one thing here with itemization and item sets, and it's item trait called charged. They reduces the trait's increase of applying status effects to 235 down from 365 to make it to make up for the large increase in performance of most status effects, because as you remember they are buffing status effects, and if they are not almost all status effects, and if it's not for this change, if it's not for this nerf, no one will just simply change the traits for other traits, because in general, if you are saying that ZeniMax Online Studio is nerfing something, they're just giving you an opportunity to play with other stuff. Because, for example, if you are playing currently in current meta with fire damage builds with charged traits, you just won't change it to anything else. And in this patch note, they just reducing potency of these traits, of these status effects, of some status effects. So you can just simply try other status effects, and even if you are talking about fire builds, they will still be the same potent, and they will be even more potent. You just need to change your charge trait to infused traits, and you will have even increase in your damage. So it's basically not nerfing, they're just giving you, as I already told you, an opportunity to try something new. And they buffed almost all the status effects except for burning effect, because it's already the most potent status effect in the game. And maybe it will even work better with Cindermoss build. Who knows? We need to see numbers from Cindermoss new set. And aren't you sleepy still, my friend?
Just a little bit, but I also realize that those are important things, important changes. So we need to go through them, definitely. I believe the guys would benefit from some kind of summary in the end.
So yeah. Yeah, and we just forgot something, so something we need to tell you. Trap Beast also this morph now increases damage done of the initial hit by 20%. Initial hit now always applies the Hammerhagen status effect, thus increasing the chance of applying this effect by 10%. So again, you can see that if they nerf in something, they are balancing this with some adjustments, like adjustments to Trap Beast from Fighters Guild skill line. It's a very powerful skill that some of you even may use on your stamina builds. And also they are increasing Blight, Blessed Bones, Necromancer skill also applies disease status effect on hit, so our necromancers will be even more powerful. And also about Hammerhagen effect, this status effect damage to be less penalizing while not at full stack. This will result in 89% increase in damage at one stack and 20% more damage at two stacks, at the same damage as at three stacks. Overall, this means status effect will now be 25% weaker than burning at base, the same at two stacks, and 25% stronger while at three stacks, resulting in a status effect that should be far less weak with the low investments. So you can see that they are buffing almost everything in this new patch, and even when you see some nerfs, like for example burning status effect and Hammerhagen status effect, they in the next paragraph they just simply adjusting it and making it stronger with other sources. So you just need to take one source of increasing damage to another and you will get the same numbers and even higher. And the last thing, Sacrificial Bones, this ability in Gravelord Sacrifice Morph now increases your damage done with class abilities and damage over time effects, rather than only Gravelord abilities and damage over time effects. And also, this Morph Gravelord Sacrifice causes your Flame Skull and Morph's third cast to deal the damage in area around the initial target and create a corpse at their location, rather than increasing your damage done with affected abilities by 20%. So, few words. Tuning Dungeons. If you are still watching this video, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. We'll talk about this even a few seconds later with our KGT friends. Show us that you really like that stuff. Yes, there were a lot of numbers, a lot of changes, but it's a big DLC, it's a big update, update 41. So a lot of changes with the two new dungeons, a lot of different juicy stuff. Buff to Necromancers, some changes to status effects, but in general they're not nerfs, just use infused trait and you will see it's only buffed. And yes, they adjusted fire status effect, but it's not something critical. You won't even see it from the passives, from the passive changes of your skill lines from your class tree lines. And in general, some quality of life improvements like keys and Cyrodiil repair kits and some crafting, like crafting.
And new statuses.
Yeah, new statuses, new traits also. So in general, you can see that ZeniMax Online Studios for 2 years, they're not nerfing something critical. They just trying to balance the game, and looking at the current state of the game, it's a really fun game to play. It's literally the best MMORPG on the you can find, especially if you're comparing with World of Warcraft, that literally killing the whole story every patch and recapping, trying to rewrite the story all the time. So yeah, a really nice patch with a lot of nice adjustments, nice rewards, with a lot of really healthy changes to the game, and all the nerfs, as we already been telling you, you won't see any nerfs at all because they are all compensated with something. Except of Arcanist that's really doing crazy amounts of damage with stamina to panel to bar build and need to be nerfed. Yeah, but everything else quite high, so it's of quality of life changes. So maybe few words from you, my friends.
Yeah, what I'm looking forward mainly are the two new dungeons, the extensions of lore, and I expect to have more fun and to care less about whether I'm wearing the perfect build or not. And I think we're approaching that. We have a lot of variants to create the same effect with different builds, and I hope ESO keeps moving that way. All in all, yeah, looking forward. What about you?
Yeah, the same. It definitely will be fun to try everything on live, to try every numbers to see how will be how will be, for example, ice builds potent now, and how other things we've been talking about, how they will be rebalanced, because you can see that everything will have increasing stats, almost everything. And we'll definitely see more necromancers and dragon knights in next DLC. They will be even more potent. So yeah, a lot of really nice changes with a lot of quality of life changes. So again, guys, thank you a lot for your
Yeah,
attention. Yeah,
and stay tuned for the next videos.
yeah, and
We're definitely doing the blind run.
yeah, and don't forget to do what? Oh, what our viewers need to do?
Subscribe, dear friends, and hit the like button.
Yeah, and we will
Looking forward to meet you.
see you in Scions of Ithelia, in the new dungeons, and in the Tamriel really soon. See you. Good luck.
See you. Bye.